Hello, and welcome to another community update, another Novusphere community update. We have lots and lots to cover. We also have a community member joining us live. So just to get started, Asphyxia, why don't you let us know what's going on with the backend stuff with the side states?
Yeah, sure. So just recently, the referendum on EOS has officially launched. So what that means is the EOS IO.form contract has been officially deployed, and so any referendums now being proposed can actually be considered for real this time with block producers and might actually be implemented in the future depending on how voting for them goes. And so we've seen a lot of different referendum interfaces. Our form discussions.app as well supports the referendum, and you can vote and create referendums from our interface. Um, Aside from that, one of the things that we've done is the Novusphere DB contract has been updated recently with the latest developer kit for developer contracts. And this actually fixed one of the bugs we had with the Lynx wallet for EOS. And now the form is actually fully compatible with Lynx. And I have been in touch with Jacob from Lynx, who is, I believe, the CTO, and we are going to be added soon to the Lynx wallet as one of the dApps that are available. So, uh, this please feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe all the wallets now that we're compatible with are
Mm-hmm.
Scatter, Lynx, and Meet.one.
Mm-hmm. Can confirm.
Um, So, as well, what we've been working on is the side state contract. And so, just to give a bit of detail about this, we're very close to launching phase one, which will be a proof of authority side state. And so, I'll explain shortly what this will allow us to achieve. So initially, when we do launch it, it will be proof of authority, which basically means that initially only the Novusphere team is managing which transactions get approved and validating those transactions. And later we'll be migrating shortly after that to the proof of stake setup. And the proof of stake setup will allow other people to run the same software that we are running and participate in the validation setup of the slide state. So phase one of the slide state mainly focuses on a public key setup, very similar to the way Bitcoin or Ethereum works in terms of receiving payments. And then phase two, which is still in the works, adds the same privacy scheme that we see in Monero to the slide state. So what this will allow people to do is you'll actually be able to initially receive EOS to a public key instead of having an account. And so I think this is really important for adoption in terms of EOS because one of the barriers that we have with adoption of EOS is that people need to create an account before they can really start doing anything. And with other blockchains like Ethereum or Bitcoin, all you need to do is create an address and then you can start receiving things. So you don't need to have any upfront payment. And so through this system, once we've launched it, people will be able to receive EOS directly to a public key, and they won't need to actually create an account to receive EOS. And then as for transferring, they'll be able to transfer from one public key to another, so they could pay directly to another public key, or they could send it from the public key to an account. So maybe they register an account later, and then they want to move their funds from the public key over to the account. They can do that as well. And since these transactions are being broadcast by the Novusphere team in this case, but the obviously the approval, the signature comes from the user, there is a fee associated with it, and that'll be a percentage fee, and it'll likely be 0.5%. So a very small tame fee, very similar to what is very normal in terms of what the exchanges charge. And then when we switch to the proof of stake setup, that fee will be paid to those that are staking and helping validate the transactions in this setup. And so tying this back into the form, what we're working on is this will be very useful for being able to tip to anonymous users, people posting on the forum who don't have an account. because they'll be able to receive tips and as well send tips without even having an account. So what this does is it lowers the second class citizenship that is currently incurred by not having an EOS account on the forum. And so our goal has always been to continue to reduce the barrier and reduce needing an EOS account to participate fully on the forum. And we believe that's one of the best ways that we can increase adoption of EOS is by lowering these barriers to enter.
Cool, cool, very cool. So just to recap and to bring up a question that someone have dropped in the comments, a lot of stuff are happening on the back end. We're doing more integrations, adding more mobile wallet supports, so links, Meet.1, and Scatter. So all the popular ones out there. We are gonna make a big push towards mobile after we got the desktop stuff figured out. And as Fexer mentioned that the backstate is going to be updated so that in the future, anyone could tip with just a EOS address, and you have a balance on your EOS address. Now, one of our listeners, Crypto Please, asked if there's a transaction fee. Yes, there's a 0.5 transaction fee on the tips, only if it's sent from a public key pair. If you already have an EOS account, that would be a, it would use your resources to send that transaction instead of having that execute on the side state. The side anything that executes on the side state is where the transaction fees come in. Is that correct, Asphyxia? Is that a good recap?
Yeah, that's correct. Because
Okay.
I think the easiest way to think about this is if you send, let's say, some EOS to a public key, and that person who received it on a public key doesn't have an EOS account, and then they go to send their EOS to someone else, be it an account or a public key. Well, somebody has to pay for the resources of that transaction, and so that's where the fee comes in. Is essentially the fee is paying whoever. In the case of the proof of authority, it's paying us for using our resources to broadcast that transaction. And then once staking is introduced, again, it's paid to the stakers as the stakers are using their resources to broadcast that transaction.
Very cool. Very cool. I see that Crypto Please is typing. I think he might have another question. Will I be able to claim the tips or exchange it for EOS account? So that is something we are working on. When you say claim the tips, you could send the tips to a exchange account, all the EOS. When you try to cash out EOS to fiat currencies or to do a trade, what you do is send your EOS to a cryptocurrencies EOS account. On this setup, you could do the same thing. The only thing is, yes, you're gonna have to pay the 0.5 transaction fee. And will you be able to change it for a EOS account? That is something we are currently looking into. So in the future, obviously, we're gonna allow people to kind of gift accounts or trade in the tips for a EOS account. That's one of the ways that you could kind of earn an EOS account without having to pay anything for it. So yes, that is something. Yes, you could claim it and cash it out, and in the future you'll be able to change it for EOS account.
Yep, that was spot on.
Cool, cool. So that is Asphyxia. Brian and Fix, do you guys have anything to update us on the organizational side of things?
Sure. So we are still working, moving forward with getting the foundation set up. We are at this point gathering our paperwork and getting certified copies of things like our passports and official letters from, I guess you would call them like our bankers, and making sure that we have, proof of funds essentially. So the ball's a little bit in our court to get that paperwork over
Hmm.
to them, but things are moving along nicely, and I think we're still on track for having things set up by the end of this month, if not early February for sure. Um, so I think I don't know unless Brian has anything else to add. Looks like he's typing. Maybe he has a nope. Okay.
It's covered everything already.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
yeah.
so things are moving along, and I'd say I'm happy where we're headed right now.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
So I know some of you guys are a little concerned with the pace of the organizational side of things because we have stated that we are gonna kind of hold off and listing on new exchanges until that is figured out so that we could kind of do them all at once, if you will, and kind of get the ball rolling in terms of getting some liquidity for our token. And once we have liquidity, obviously we will start doing a little bit more trading. But rest assured that is in the works and it will come soon. So I'm gonna jump to my side of things, which is marketing and user adoption. We had a great week last week. I'm gonna share with you guys in the chat a photo of our user count. So just give me a second. I'm just gonna talk while I get that sent. So our users hit over 150 users in one day. Daily users on the day that we on the day that the referendum went live. And we saw marketing EOS.discussion.app as a place where you could go and read and comment on these referendums, and we're gonna continue that marketing push. That in combination with the EOS Cafe contest we're running really help draw in users to start using our platform. We do have more of those contests coming up. The goal is to have these contests kind of overlap each other so that we keep the interest of the users coming back, exploring new contests and seeing new content. Also on user side, we have a lot more almost what I would call native users now. There are people posting content on our platform. There are people, excited members, excited users that are just writing articles about us on Steam and Tribe and posting on the social media account. So lots and lots of excitement are is being generated by the community, which is a great sight to see. It makes me very excited. Yeah, so that is the marketing and community update. What articles? I haven't seen anything on Steam. I will share with you once I have a little bit more time on the chat, once I hand over the mic to someone else. And on the UI update, we have another big UI coming up. It's gonna happen very soon, and it's gonna make the site a lot more. The site is kind of, the rough outline is already done. We're just kind of making it easier to use. So a lot of refinements make things look a lot more nicer. So yeah, okay. So yeah, that's one by Fix, and there's a few more on Steam as well. So very exciting to see people taking interest in our project. So let me just take a look at the notes. Fix, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I was just gonna let everyone know we created a new account, which will be shared by the team, and that's the sole purpose of the account is to tip users for content on the forum, and as a way for us to kind of recognize contributors and to welcome new users and that kind of thing. So consider it sort of a manual sort of airdrop mechanism, and to kind of encourage people to continue posting. So when you see the user raining Atmos, you'll know that there's one of us is on the forum looking at things, and trying to reward people for participating.
Yes, and that's right. We're gonna be tipping a lot more. Once again, check out our partner EOS Cafe and keep an eye out. We're gonna host another contest ourselves, and we're gonna be hosting a contest. And this is just for you guys who are listening to the podcast. We have a partnership coming up with Pix EOS. Pix EOS is one of the most exciting projects to be happening on EOS right now. They have a big community support behind them. I imagine if we are able to make sure this contest goes well, we're gonna bring on a lot more artists, which means that when we launch future contests in the artistic contests in the future, we will have a pool of talented people where we could draw from. So tons of exciting stuff. There you go. Fixture the article I was looking for. Perfect. So with that, I think the floor is open. If you guys would like to speak, unmute yourself and speak your mind, express your opinions. Yeah, it is kind of hard to get your hands on ammos. We are trading on Dex EOX. Is one of the places you could get some ammos. I think the current rate is 0.0025 EOS per ammos, so very reasonable price. I think undervalue, if I might add. I think you can also trade it on Cryptopia, which is a Atmos to BTC pair. Yeah, so it's a little bit difficult if you use Cryptopia. You have to kind of swap it. So it looks like everyone's just chatting. That is perfectly fine. I'm gonna stop the recording now and we'll just continue the conversation there. So everyone, if you're listening to the recording, thanks for listening and please join us again the next Monday.